All right, friends, it's T, and I'm back with another video. And you could call this, I guess, a Q&A something, man. I don't know. I'm going to answer something that in the comment section somebody was asking me before, and I forgot to add this in the Blaha video, this part too. But yeah, I'm going to just do it now really quick. So, about muscles and this whatever. Fusion and beyond satellite cell contribution to loading induced skeletal muscle adaptations. Listen to what they say, loading induced. Because it's like this Max Useda video where Max Useda says that muscle damage is not the driver of muscle hypertrophy, but mechanical tension or mechanical loading is. Mechanical loading is muscle damage. Duh. Yeah, man. So it's like myonuclei overload. Myonuclei overload. Well, fusion beyond satellite cell contribution to overload, loading induced skeletal muscle adaptations. Okay, so we scroll down here at the bottom. It's a short section. I forgot. I left it out by accident. I should have brought it up, but whatever. So mechanical 2.2. Mechanical loading. Mechanical loading is muscle damage. Physiological muscle damage and satellite cell fusion to muscle fibers. So how do satellite cells fuse to muscle fibers? Through what? Physiological what? Muscle damage. Fuck me, yeah, man. Can you believe that? Shit. So once satellite cells were identified as an autonomous cell population and subsequently named, their role in non-contractile mediated physiological muscle regeneration following injury was quickly recognized. What was it quickly recognized? That muscle regeneration following injury was quickly recognized. Oh my God, yeah. Now, here comes the big part. Unaccustomed activity of any type can be injurious. What are they talking about there? Are they talking about people going to gyms lifting weights? Huh? What are they talking about there? They say unaccustomed activity of any type can be injurious. And how do we regenerate muscles? How do we get more of these nuclei? How do we get more of this satellite cells? Through injuries, regeneration, injuries. So any activity could literally injure the muscle fiber. And then, but what builds muscles? Protein synthesis must exceed that breakdown. So do you need a gym? Do you need a gym to build more muscle cells, the density of the muscle cells? Do you need a gym to cause these injuries? No, because unaccustomed activity of any type they're talking about could be injurious, even walking upstairs. If you're unaccustomed to walking up a set of stairs, a flight of 20 stairs you've never walked up before and you're unaccustomed to doing it, guess what it's going to be? Injurious to your muscle fibers. That's right. Especially if eccentric contractions are involved. Yeah, because it's not the concentric, it's always the eccentric. That's why it's superior, because the eccentric exercises cause damage and you get more of these progenitor cells, so it must be superior. Okay, so especially if these contractions are involved. But muscle damage is specifically apparent with mechanical loading, used to induce hypertrophy. Oh my gosh, it's used to induce hypertrophy. Yeah, in both rodents and humans. So that must be hyperplasia. Must be hyperplasia. Because if you get more cells, those cells hypertrophy. Oh, well, if you've built more cells, it's already hypertrophy. Does that mean you can see it? No, under a microscope you could. But now you need to exceed that breakdown with protein to see that mass. The nature and magnitude of damage response to muscle contractions is complex. I try to explain this on my channel. It's extremely complex. For some people can't understand that though, because they're so dumb. They think Blaha's building a muscle in his garage. All right. And may involve a degree of muscle fiber degeneration and necrosis. It does. There's a degeneration in muscle damage, and then it's followed with a regeneration. That's why I say you need to be in an anabolic growth state so you don't get an apoptosis instead. So you get a degeneration and necrosis, and then you get a regeneration. That provokes satellites. You see, that provokes satellite cell activity and what? Regeneration. A recent example of extreme muscle damage with exercise, in humans was provided by Mackey and Cagier, where very high volumes of eccentric weightlifting elicited a bona fide regenerative response. Well, how about that? Very high volumes of eccentric weightlifting. They didn't say concentric. They said eccentric weightlifting elicited a bona fide regenerative response. Yeah, causes injuries. So there's a regeneration now. In this circumstance, the role of satellite cells in muscle repair is initiative, since the reconstruction of large portions of muscle fibers or the formation of entirely new muscle fibers. Okay, so the reconstruction of large portion of muscle fibers would be minimal amount of damage that you're doing in the gym. But if you're doing massive damage, like they say, high volume elicited weightlifting, elicited bona fide regenerative response. If you do massively more damage to the muscle fibers, then guess what's going to happen? Or the formation of entirely new muscle fibers necessitates them. So not only are you going to get a reconstruction of the large portion of muscle fibers, you will get a formation of entirely new muscle fibers as well, depending on how much damage you're causing to the muscle fibers. Now, that's not going to happen if you're not eating in an anabolic growth state. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. Interestingly, because it does go through a degeneration and a regeneration. Interesting. That's why you got to go for over a week period to allow it to degenerate. The first 3 days or 2 days, there's a degeneration, and then the rest of the week following, before you come back to hit them again, it's going through a regeneration. Do you understand? All right. Interestingly, it seems that satellite cell expansion with mechanical loading often exceeds what is required to repair muscle damage. Coordinated regulation of proliferation, differentiation, and apoptosis in satellite cells likely ensues. That satellite cell proliferative overshoot does not result in access fusion to muscle fibers, while recent evidence provides insight into how satellite cell exhaustion is prevented by exercise. So think about this. Your coach Blaha, he's exhausting the satellite cell exhaustion. You understand me? But this regenerative stuff it increases the satellite cell number. How do you increase the satellite cell number so you don't end up like Coach Blaha in sarcopenia? It's really easy. Regenerate muscle fibers by injuring them, so that the progenitor cell, when it comes out, it can split, divide, and increase in number. But it won't split, divide, and increase in number if you're a chronic lifter in the gym. Get it, man? Yeah, it's not going to do that, okay? So under less strenuous conditions, such as moderate intensity resistance exercise, damage induced by contractions is characterized by disruptions to the internal structure of muscle fibers that involve physical forces and or excessive calcium release from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, as well as localized focal damage to the sarcolemma. In concert with sarcolemma disruption, factors released from muscle fibers and subsequent immune cell infiltration are the likely main factors of satellite cell fusion to muscle fibers with traditional resistance exercise expanded on below. Oh, they're expanding here. Man, this is going to take forever to read all this through here. The study of mechanical load-induced adaptations in rodents primarily approaches synergistic invasion approach induced compensatory hypertrophy synergistic. I can't go through all this, man. It's going to take forever to go through here. Satellite cell proliferation markedly and fusion to muscle fibers in response to synergistic ablation, making it the effective model for studying satellite cells. Okay, this is just going to go on. I think that was the most important. Satellite cells could accelerate muscle fiber repair process given their involvement after muscle membrane resealing. Yes, they do a lot. They build muscles, yes. Even after 8 weeks of overload without satellite cells, muscle fiber function normalized to fiber size is not compromised. If membrane damage is not catastrophic, so This is very complex, bro. Mechanical load, commercially. Excessively damaging protocols involving force intense running in the absence of cell fusion results in significant muscle impairments. Listen to what they tell you here. They say, conversely, excessively damaging protocols involving force intense running in the absence of satellite cell fusion results in significant muscle impairments. Well, that kind of sucks. Eh? That's your coach Blaha. Thus, pretty soon coming to him in a theater near you. Thus, the degree of cause of damage during load induced hypertrophy, as well as the specific hypertrophic stimulus, likely determines the necessity of satellite cells for successful hypertrophic adaptations. Yeah, they're really important, man. Without them, forget it. Yeah, I don't even know what this one is here. Fusion during loading induced muscle hypertrophy. Niche derived cues. They have a cue. Well, I know they have cues. A challenge to understanding what mediates satellite cell fusion to adult muscle fibers with loading is that it is difficult to parse the effects of external cues from muscle fibers and/or mononuclear cells versus the cell autonomous effects of mechanical loading directly on satellite cells. Okay, muscles can grow appreciably without myonuclear accretion when hypertrophy is induced by genetic or pharmacological means in vivo without tension or damage. Yeah, I know that. That just means something's expanding, but that doesn't mean you're gaining more cells. That this suggests that the mechanical loading is a key stimulus for satellite cell activity during growth. Yeah. Some studies report that satellite cells on adult muscle fibers can be activated in response to stretch and shear stress. Well, they can. Let's say I stayed in a stretch position for an hour or 2 hours, or I do a lot of stretching like in martial arts. Yeah, a lot of that stretching is going to cause a break in the muscle fiber. It's going to cause it to tear. All right, and shear stress. Shear stress could cause it. I don't know what's stressing it, but something stressing the muscle fiber can cause it too, to damage, to whatever. There's a response to activate the satellite cells, suggesting they are mechanosensitive and can act cell autonomously with contractions in vivo. Mechanical strain on myogenic progenitors in vivo causes satellite cell proliferation but inhibits differentiation and fusion into myotubes. Ooh, that's not good. But these are in vivo, man. They're doing tests, okay? So I don't know what the hell they're talking about here. It's complicated. Yeah, the most important part was the other stuff, not the vivo stuff where they're doing in vivo. This was the most important up here, the one I read to you in the beginning. That was quite lengthy. This is the most important section right there. That's all you need to know, man. I'll see you in the next one. Tell me what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. Friends, so fusion and beyond, bro. Fusion and beyond. Do they tell you how muscle is built? They tell you exactly how muscle is built. Everywhere in science, it tells you exactly. Not these fake gurus with their fake explanations. And protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown to see that mass on that myofibrillar. See you in the next one. Ciao, friends.